The San Antonio kill on September 6th of 2012 really really jarred me. It really made me think about a lot of stuff and a lot of things that are going on everywhere. And when I watched this creature hit the ground, I knew that my life was going to change. And instantly, it did change. Before I shot this Bigfoot, I struggled in a lot of areas. Um, I mean, I always called myself a master tracker, but it's like I knew that I was trying my best to get this creature. I knew that it was I was just trying and trying and trying and I knew then that I wasn't the best tracker in the world. I was the best Bigfoot tracker in the world because I felt like that I was the only one that was trying to really track down a Bigfoot and kill him and drag him out, and I wanted that so bad. But then I got discouraged, and when I got discouraged, there was people in my life, mainly my wife, telling me to go full force, to do it every available second you have. And this was 6 months prior. And I went everywhere in the 6 months. All kinds of expeditions in Mexico and here. Expeditions by myself. I mean, I just went everywhere. I went up to Redwood, California, and I hiked in there for over a week by myself with a rifle. No one really knew how dedicated I was except my wife. And when I got back from that last major trip in Redwood, I got discouraged again. And then Minnow Films called and they said, Rick, we want to film with you again. Do you have any place in mind? I said, well, the only place that I've ever had a sighting was San Antonio. I knew that Bigfoot was there, so I guess we can go back there. And we was planning on going to a national park about 50 miles away from where I shot the Bigfoot. And then on the airplane, because Morgan Matthews flew here first, he filmed with my family and filmed with me for a couple of days here first. And then we got on the airplane and we flew from Las Vegas to San Antonio. On the airplane, I said, well, I'm going exactly to the spot because we talked to the homeless people a couple of years before. And I said, well, let's go back there. Morgan Matthews says, no, we already filmed there. And let's film someplace else. I said, no, let's go back there and let's camp out deep in the woods. And Morgan was like, oh no, I don't want to camp out deep. I said, well, let's just go there and do an investigation. And I finally got them to agree on the airplane that we would go there. Well, we got there, and now, and this was a plan that we had years back of going to the place that I saw the Bigfoot the first time and filming me doing what I do best. But this wasn't supposed to be the time. We wanted to go here to San Antonio, and then we wanted to go on an expedition in North California. So we was going to San Antonio first, and then North California. Well, when we get off the airplane, we rented our trucks and we went down to the Home Depot parking lot, and we climbed the hill in our little four-wheel drive, and we started to talk to people. And the more I talked to people, the more I wanted to stay. The less Morgan wanted to stay, but the more I wanted to stay. And I know y'all, it's late, and y'all can leave if y'all want. I mean, I really didn't think that no one would show up, but y'all are welcome to leave or stay and watch this later.
So Rick, what's brought you to come out with this today? What's been on your mind?
I just think that people should know the backstory about all of this, and people just should know everything of exactly what happened in San Antonio. On the 30th, it's all going to come out anyway. And everything that I've been saying for the past 6 months is going to come to light. There's not one little lie or fib that people will catch me in on this film. And I just thought that people should know the backstory of exactly what happened.
It's funny thing when you tell the truth, or it can't change. And everything that you said from the beginning, Rick, is coming true. Everything has stayed in sequence, and some people are impatient that the film isn't out, but when there's that much money and there's promises already made prior to the shooting, then the people should understand why the movie hasn't been released yet.
Now, it is so complicated, people. Y'all have no idea, but I will get to that in a second. And I know you have to run, Andrew. and that's fine. And you can just catch up with me later, or just watch it on tape or on YouTube. But we rented the trucks and stuff, and we went out there, and we started to interview. And the more I interviewed, the more I wanted to stay out there, the less Morgan wanted to stay out there because it's weird people. Weird. Morgan thought they were weird, but they were just homeless, and they wanted to tell their story. They had a story, and someone that they thought that was important is listening to them. So, and I did. And every word I listened. So I finally convinced Morgan to stay out there. He was really he wasn't too keen on staying out there because he was scared. And I can't blame him for being scared, because he is a rich city guy who it's the last thing that he wants to do is camp out in a homeless area. But I did convince him to do this. Now, where we camped is not where people think we camped. You can get to a national park through a certain corridor of woods, and that is where we camped. Now you can still hear gunshots really good from where we camped to the Home Depot parking lot. I mean, in fact, we were about maybe 3 to 5 miles away from SeaWorld. Maybe a little more or a little less. I didn't measure it, but we was close to SeaWorld in San Antonio. We were camping, and I actually nailed some ribs to a tree. When I was nailing ribs to a tree, I can now remember, because Morgan Matthews reminded me, but I can remember Morgan laughing at me and said, "Oh, Rick, so what makes you a master tracker?" And I turned to him and I said, "Morgan, what makes you a British asshole filmmaker?" And it was like that the whole film, from when he started filming me in late 2008 until September 6th, 2012. And Morgan is weird. And if you're American, then you know how we are. But Morgan is scared of everything. Well, scared of his own shadow. Just wants to do stuff 100% right. Let me shut this here. Sorry about that, folks. And like I said, I didn't expect for anyone to show up tonight, but judging by YouTube and the Hangouts, people actually did. I was just expecting people to listen to it on the re-record, not live. But I just thought that I would tell this story for the people who just joined us. I mean, to tell you the backstory of what happened, and just like Andrew Clacy just said, that everything I said from day one is coming to light exactly when I said that it was coming to light. And the film is no different. The film will be out on the 30th. But before the film comes out, I thought you should know the backstory of this film. And if you missed the start, then I suggest you go back afterwards if you're interested and listen to it. But as we were filming, I thought that he was like being sarcastic, like, for the film, of course, but I knew that he really didn't believe in Bigfoot. And I didn't want the film for me to be portrayed as this crazy nut. And this is what he thought that he was going to do. And this is what I thought that he was going to do before the incident happened. I thought that he was going to make me look bad and just do whatever he can to crush me, because everybody hated me because I was the 2008 hoaxer. So what else could you expect, right? So I'm nailing the ribs to the tree, and I can see him filming me and asking me questions, but I can see his face when I answer the questions and stuff, like, oh my God, this guy's just a nutcase. So I actually, finished nailing the ribs to a tree, and he was like kidding me, like, oh, so that's going to attract Bigfoot. How do you know? I said, well, you don't really know, Morgan. I've tried a lot of stuff, and I'm going to try this now. And the reason why I tried the ribs was because that some homeless people called 911 and reported the Bigfoot was dragging a deer carcass across the highway. And a motorist also called that same night. And many people don't know about that. But a motorist called also and said the same exact thing. So I said, well, he likes deer. We can't kill a deer now. So how about ribs from Walmart? And that's when I decided to go get the ribs from Walmart. So we hopped in the rental car and we went out and got ribs. And I'm going back and forth, but y'all could just put it together, the sequence of events. And it's like, oh my God, he thinks that I am a nut. And that night I was in my tent and I was, praying to God. I said, God, please help me. Please let him see a Bigfoot. Please let something happen. And the next morning, I woke up and there was a Bigfoot eating the ribs off the tree. I got my cell phone. That's where the tent video came from. And I filmed this beast. And I was in the little tent, and the opening was about this big, with the cover over the tent, because you can take the cover off and it's just net. But if you put the cover over the tent, you have about this much space, and you really can't see in if you're away. But this Bigfoot stopped what he was doing. He looked, he went left, and then he looked again. And then if you watch the full video, you will see him looking straight at me. He knew what I was doing. I jumped out of the tent. Morgan jumped out of his tent. He was watching this also in the morning, in the daytime. I mean, this was wow. And we were staring at this when we was outside the tent, and the Bigfoot was staring at us. I had a rifle in my hand, but I just couldn't pick it up. It's like my arms went numb. I couldn't do nothing. And I saw him jerk the ribs off the tree and casually walk away. Not run, but walk. And every 4 or 5 steps, he did the classic Bigfoot look. Looking like this and looking like this. Every 3 or 4 steps. I turned to Morgan. Morgan turned to me. And he freaked out. He just freaked out. He said, "We got to get him on film. Let's get him on film." He didn't know I already filmed this beast. If nothing else had happened, then I would have gave him this film. We went straight back to Walmart. This time, it was a whole different trip. This time, he was interested in Bigfoot, asking me questions about Bigfoot. And he was questioning his own existence. I mean, he had a lot of questions that I couldn't answer, or he couldn't answer. He was in shock. We went and got the ribs again from Walmart, and I bet these Walmart people thought that we were idiots, because we went there and we bought like almost $200 in ribs. We cleaned them out, and we went back to the woods, and I nailed these ribs all over. And after I got through nailing these ribs, I did not tell Morgan about what I was planning to do. I had a gun. He knew I had a gun, but he really thought that it was for protection. He didn't know what I was going to do. Well, night fell, and I had my night vision in my hand, and I had the net all the way around. I heard Bigfoot with I didn't know it was Bigfoot then. I assumed it was. Footsteps. And it sounded like a human footstep, but where we were, everybody knew to stay the hell away. Everybody knew this. So what we did, when I heard it, I jumped out of my tent, and at about that same time, Morgan was coming out of his tent, and I helped him unzip his tent. There's two zippers. There's one on his side and one on my side. So I felt him pulling his side, and I kind of helped him up because he had a camera, a huge camera. So I helped him up, and that's when uh, it all started. I had a light on the end of my gun, and we were walking through the woods. And at a certain point, I saw Bigfoot. I was maybe 10 feet away. And then when he saw me, he turned around and started to walk. And he was walking this way. Oh, shit. He was walking this way, and I ran this way to cut him off. And he had to walk right in front of me. He had to. So I raised my gun, and Morgan has all this on tape. And I'm telling you what's on the tape now. You see Bigfoot plain as day, walking and looking at the camera. And you see me shoot Bigfoot. Once I shoot Bigfoot, all hell broke loose. I kind of elbowed Morgan in the face because he was trying to grab my rifle. And I elbowed him in the face, and I ran after Bigfoot. But the thing was that Bigfoot, once I got to a certain point, Bigfoot made a big circle. And when I heard Morgan scream, "Rick," I looked up, and Bigfoot was there going after him. And he pushed him to the side, but he pushed him hard. You will see in the film Morgan's face. He really got roughed up there with just one push. He really got roughed up. And then that's when I took the fatal shot. When I took the fatal shot, luckily the camera went down at this certain point where you basically can see everything. And when I got to Morgan, he was in shock and knocked out at the same time. And I know the haters are going to go wild over that, but it was amazing how he was. I was slapping him in the face hard to get him back with me. This Bigfoot was laying 2 feet from us dead. And I'm trying to get him up. And he's looking, and I'm looking at the Bigfoot. I said, "Oh, shit." And that's where the film ends. But the first film ends. I'm going to tell you what happens next. The Bigfoot is laying there. I start pulling at the Bigfoot's head. Because in my mind, even though I saw one before, in my mind still, It's not a Bigfoot. It has to be someone in a suit. I start pulling or trying to pull Bigfoot's head off, looking for a zipper all the way through the body. I was trying. Then I realized really fast that this was a Bigfoot. At this time, the homeless people started to come in because they heard the gunshots. They started to come in. And there was about 8 people surrounding the body, looking at each other, saying, "Hey, I told y'all, I told y'all, I told y'all." And that's where we made a pact to get this thing out of the woods. I was not going to leave the side of this creature. I stayed with this creature through the rest of the night. We all did, actually. And in the morning, we went and we purchased something to get. I can't tell you what it is right now, but I will tell you we purchased something to get Bigfoot out of the woods. I can tell you tarps, ropes, just to ruin the second movie. But we purchased all kinds of things, and what we did was we put them on a tarp and we wrapped them up with rope and stuff, and we pulled them, but it kept coming loose. Everything kept coming loose, and so finally we just laid the tarp out, and the homeless people got around, and we all pulled. Well, at the end of the place, because we could not get the truck, because at this time people had already left to rent a truck, and I mean it was a big mess with the rental truck, but I will let that be shown in the second film. And the second film will come out after you already seen the body. After the body is out, the second film will come out. And the second film is like, wow. But when we got to this embankment, we backed the truck up and we let down the ramp type deal. And we had a problem getting the Bigfoot from the top of the embankment to the bottom because it was pretty steep. And when we did, and this happened, I can't tell you where this happened yet, but it happened. When we was trying to let the Bigfoot down gently, slide down the embankment, we kept hold of the tarp, but the body just rolled down the embankment. And then we got down there because we wanted to do it quick because we didn't want no one to see us doing this. And we loaded the Bigfoot on the ramp. That it was an electrical lift ramp that folded down from the back of the truck. And once we got the Bigfoot up, we pushed him inside the truck and closed the door. And after we did that, we We drove and we made phone calls, more phone calls, and drove and drove and drove. We had to make a stop at a university where a government official met us, went in, took hair and tissue samples. And before she left, she told us congratulations. We stopped at another establishment, and then we got a place to accept this thing in Las Vegas. Once we got to Las Vegas, now I have not slept. No one has slept. We're all pumped. Morgan left. Very, very excited. The rest of the expedition was canceled. And then that's when my investors kicked in. And we got to the place that was going to take it. But when we got there, it did not have a facility to keep it stored on ice. But they agreed to build the facility right there. So we had to rent this truck for a long while, a lot of money for a freezer truck. You just can't comprehend how much a freezer truck costs. We could have bought a used freezer truck for the amount of money we paid to rent this truck. It was about 35, 40 days. And but it was a big hassle with the truck and the credit card on file and all that crap. It was just a huge, huge hassle. And then I did not want to leave the body. I threaten people, and I am not that kind of person. I threaten people. I held my gun in my hand and looked at this guy and says, I'm not leaving here. I'm not leaving. My investor flew down. One of the investors flew down, and we made arrangements. We filmed it. We did it. I was so afraid that someone was going to take it, and I was afraid for weeks after that someone was going to take it. I was afraid for months after someone was going to take it. But after the weeks, and no one ever said or threatened at any time, the government or anybody never said at any time that they were going to take it or confiscate it or anything. So we just calmed down and said, you know what? This is a discovery, and this is a discovery of a lifetime, and no one wants to take it. So that's when I put my fear aside, and the people that are watching the body right now are contractors, security, not Steve Coles, that are paid by the investor to watch the body. And then they have their own security for the complex. So it's like we're watching them too. And we never had no problem at all. It's just really hard for someone other than myself to get in. I can go in at any time now. At any time at all, I can go in. And but it's really hard to get other people to go in. Um, when I got back home, I could not sleep. I could not sleep at all, and I stayed up for wow for 2 or 3 days. I just couldn't sleep, and if I did sleep, it would be for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then I would get up and call, uh, "Is the body okay?" Or I get up and I drive there. Is my body okay? It was if I had a bad heart there at that time, I would have had a heart attack because there was so much stress involved in this here. There was just so much stress. So, so the whole thing was that I wanted people to know what I did. I thought in my mind, if I got this out to the public, then they would release it sooner. They would release it quicker. So I released the tent video. Facebook Find Bigfoot saw the video, and they looked at it for the video only, not Rick Dyer. And I know that they have looked at some crazy videos that I don't agree with. But after talking with Jack Barnes, I knew that he believed in the video. How could you not? This is a real Sasquatch you're looking at.